Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mustard Saves, and welcome to episode 2 of my Rice and Beans Around the World series. I'm hiding in my closet because my house is very busy, but I did want to kind of let you guys know before we get into the video that I was super busy this week. I had planned to make like a more involved video, but life happens, and so everything that I made for this video was actually super hands-off, very simple meals to put together. And realistically, for all the recipes that we're doing today, you could use only kidney beans across the board, but the first one does have like a mixture of beans, but we'll get into that in a second. I'll stop rambling and we can just get into the video, but yeah, just wanted to pop in, say hi, and let you guys know that it's gonna be a super quick one today. To get things started, we've finally had our first entire week of cold weather, and I was craving a nice big bowl of chili. My original plan was to have one bell pepper, a poblano pepper, some celery, and carrot as my flavor base, but unfortunately, my poblano pepper wasn't looking too good on the inside, and I ended up borrowing some baby carrots from my sister to bulk up the initial vegetables just a little bit. For my beans, I had left a mix of pinto, kidney, and black beans to soak overnight, but you can just use a pound of whatever beans you like. When you soak black beans, they actually let off a lot of their color into the water, and if you look closely, you can see that they actually dyed some of the pinto beans purple. By the time they're done cooking, you won't notice, but I thought it'd be fun to point it out to you guys. I tossed in a can of diced tomato and green chili, and then used it to measure 2 cans of water. If you're using dried beans that haven't been soaked ahead of time, just make sure you wash the beans and then double the amount of water. For the seasoning, I used a homemade chili seasoning blend, but feel free to use whatever pre-made chili packet from the store. I love keeping those on hand, and I just didn't have one with me today, so I whipped up something really quick myself. If you're vegetarian or vegan, I'd recommend using vegetable stock rather than water, and you can stop here and cook this on high for 4 hours or low for 8. But I still have that half a bag of chicken leg quarters from my Thanksgiving budget challenge, so I decided to pick out 2 of the smaller ones and let them add their own flavor. After about 4 hours on high, my beans were perfectly cooked, and it was time to pull the chicken out and shred it up. In this case, you'll definitely want to shred this by hand because it will literally be falling apart just by looking at it. And if you use forks, you'll almost certainly end up missing a whole lot of bones. Here's the fancy close-up of how we had our chili the first night. Pasta, cornbread, or baked potatoes would also be delicious carb mobiles to serve this with, but I think my new favorite way to eat chili is served with some garlic bread. On another evening, I left 2 cups of dried kidney beans to soak overnight, and then I split it evenly between 2 different pots. For the smaller pot, I covered the beans with enough water to come about an inch above them and set those off to cook by themselves. And then for the bigger pot, I'm going to make Caribbean rice and peas. For my starter seasonings, I've got a few cloves of garlic, some green onion, thyme, and ginger, and if you have any pimento berries, they would add to the authenticity of the dish. While I was looking around for recipes for this dish, I found that they all unanimously started by soaking dry beans rather than using canned, but it wasn't super clear at what point people added their aromatics to the pot. It seems that it's a personal preference on whether to add them from the beginning or later on in the cooking process. So I did decide to put mine right at the beginning. After my beans had been on the stove for about an hour and they were just about done, I added in 1 whole habanero pepper since I didn't have access to Scotch bonnet, and then I messed up and accidentally bought light coconut milk. I left those 2 to hang out for another 15 minutes or so to cook off some of that excess water since it is a can of light coconut milk. And then I mixed in 1 cup of washed long grain rice along with 2 teaspoons of salt. From here, you're going to leave this to simmer for about 20 minutes and then turn off the heat and leave the pan undisturbed for another 15, and you'll have perfectly steamed rice. I forgot to turn the pan off, so my rice got a little crispy on the bottom, but just as long as you don't scrape at the bottom of your pan, everything above ground is still perfectly cooked rice. Rice and peas is typically served in companion with any number of Caribbean dishes, but we ended up just eating it as is for dinner, and it was really good. I couldn't find any websites that told me whether or not people just eat bowls of this by itself, but I mean, it can't be completely unheard of, right? For my final dish of the week, I was super hungry and just needed something really fast to put together. So with the other half of my kidney beans, I whipped up a super basic rendition of Rajma Masala. I chopped up half an onion and some garlic in my food processor and got that started in the pan. If you have any ginger, that would also be a good addition at this point in the cooking. After a few minutes, I tossed in 2 Roma tomatoes and a serrano chili pepper that also fell to the mercy of my food processor. Then after a few minutes, I went in with my pre-cooked kidney beans along with a teaspoon each of cumin, coriander, turmeric, and red chili pepper, and then salt and pepper to taste. If you have access to whole spices, you would have toasted the cumin and coriander at the beginning, but I only have dried. I actually ended up purchasing coriander specifically to make this dish, and I think coriander is like my new favorite spice, on par with onion and garlic powder. But anyway, from here, you're just going to leave everything to come together for about 10 or 15 minutes to get the flavors mingling, and then it's done. We had it served over rice as per the theme of the video, but I totally dropped the ball on what it looked like fresh. But here's a picture of when I packed it from my boyfriend's lunch the next day. I had served it with some Mexican rice that I had left over after my sister requested that I make some, and it was a nice little cute culture fusion moment. And that's everything I have for you guys this week. Like I said, this week was super busy and involved, so I'm sorry everything went by so fast. But as I said in episode 1, I will be leaving links in the description to recipes that I based my meals off of so that you guys can try them out or adapt them to what you have available at home. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. And if you want to see what else I get up to in the kitchen, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!